Hook, first 8 seconds. You want him to text you. Admit it. You've checked your phone more times than you can count, wondering if maybe, just maybe, he finally realized what he lost. But here's the truth. Men don't chase when they feel you need them. They chase when they feel you've disappeared into something they can't control. Most women think attraction is built through words, attention, or emotional honesty. But for men, it's built through absence, mystery, and the quiet threat of losing you forever. The moment he senses that your world no longer revolves around him, something deep inside him begins to panic. That's not weakness, it's biology. Men are wired to pursue what feels uncertain. The more predictable you become, the less his brain registers you as valuable. When you pull away, not as a game, but as a silent declaration of self-worth, his instinct wakes up. He starts remembering your laugh, your energy, the way you looked at him when he was the only man in your universe. And suddenly, that phone in his hand feels heavier. He starts to wonder what you're doing, who you're talking to, whether the warmth he once took for granted now belongs to someone else. That's when his ego begins to unravel. He'll tell himself it's casual, that he's just checking in. But underneath that message lies one truth. He's afraid you've truly let go. And here's the part no one tells you. Men don't come back because you convince them to. They come back because they can't stop imagining what life feels like without your energy feeding their sense of importance. When that source dries up, the silence becomes louder than your words ever were. So before you think of what to text him, stop. Think about how you make him feel when you don't. The most powerful message you can ever send is none at all, because in your silence, his desire wakes up. And that's when he calls, that's when he texts. Not because he misses your words, because he misses his reflection in your eyes. Men don't fall in love through conversation. They fall in love through contrast. The contrast between having your attention and suddenly losing it. Between feeling like he knows you completely and realizing he doesn't anymore. That emotional drop is what stirs obsession. When you vanish from his emotional landscape, you don't become forgotten. You become a mystery he can't solve. Think about it. When he first met you, he felt uncertainty. Would you like him back? Would you respond? That tension created excitement, adrenaline, attraction. But once he felt too secure, the game ended in his mind. Men don't crave peace. They crave pursuit. Not because they're broken, but because pursuit is how the masculine connects to purpose. When a man doesn't have to chase, he doesn't have to feel. That's why the woman who tries harder ends up losing more. She texts, calls, explains, apologizes, thinking she's fighting for love. But from his perspective, it feels like she's trying to convince him. And men don't fall for logic. They fall for emotion. The moment your energy shifts from desire to desperation, his brain reclassifies you from challenge to certainty. And certainty kills the chase every time. So how do you flip the dynamic? You reclaim your silence. You shift the focus back to your world. Start posting without meaning to impress him. Start glowing without waiting for him to notice. When a man sees a woman living her life untouched by his absence, his instincts flare up. He starts questioning his value. Wait, did she move on? Did she stop caring? That doubt is the oxygen to male attraction. You see, the text you're waiting for doesn't come from love, it comes from loss. When he senses your emotional distance, his ego feels a gap it needs to fill. That's why he reaches out after days, weeks, or even months. It's not random. It's the silent realization that your energy used to make him feel like somebody, and now he feels invisible. That's when the phone buzzes. The message appears. Hey, simple, empty. But underneath it lies a storm. A man trying to pull back the power he once took for granted. When that message finally comes, when his name lights up your screen, you'll feel that rush. Your heart skips. Your mind floods with what-ifs. Maybe he changed. Maybe this means something. But pause. That text isn't a confession. It's a test. He's not reaching out because he's certain about you. He's reaching out to see if you're still certain about him. Men have a subconscious radar for emotional availability. The second you respond too eagerly, his nervous system relaxes. He gets the confirmation he needed. You're still there, still waiting, still emotionally open. And once his ego feels safe again, his desire fades. It's cruel, but it's predictable. That's why your response after the silence is more powerful than any message he could ever send. The moment he texts, your instinct will tell you to mirror his effort, to match his energy. But your power lies in restraint. Wait, breathe. Let him feel the weight of uncertainty he once gave you. When you don't rush to reply, his curiosity grows. His mind starts spinning. Did she move on? Did I wait too long? That anxiety is what pulls him closer. It forces him to chase. And when you do reply, keep it light, grounded, and detached. Not cold, just self-assured. A woman who knows her worth doesn't need to prove it through words. She proves it through her calm. Men are drawn to emotional stability because it feels rare. When you're not triggered, not chasing, not over-explaining, he senses something powerful. Control. He'll start trying harder, not because you demanded it, but because you became unpredictable again. That unpredictability reactivates his primitive wiring, the need to earn, to conquer, to prove. That's when he starts calling more, texting more, showing interest, not out of love yet, but out of fear. Fear of losing access to a woman who doesn't need him to function. The irony is, the less you do, the more he feels. Because your silence, your composure, your lack of urgency, all tell him what words never could. You've changed. And that change triggers his curiosity, his jealousy, his desire. Here's what no one tells you. When you shift your energy, you shift the entire dynamic. Men can feel when your focus leaves them. It's not magic, it's psychology. You stop feeding his ego, and suddenly his subconscious panics. The silence that once made him feel free now makes him feel forgotten. That's when he starts remembering details he once ignored. The sound of your laugh, the warmth in your voice, the way your presence made his world feel alive. But the key here is emotional discipline. Because when he comes back, he's not always coming back for you. Sometimes he's coming back for the feeling you gave him, the validation, the comfort, the control. This is where most women lose their power. They mistake curiosity for commitment, guilt for love, and attention for effort. He says he misses you, and suddenly all that strength dissolves. But men test with words, they prove with actions. If you respond emotionally, you teach him that he can have access without effort. But if you respond calmly, measured, composed, you send a message far deeper than words. The old version of me no longer exists. That's when he feels it, the shift, the loss, the realization that the woman who once needed him has become the woman he now needs. That's when you become magnetic, not because you're trying to attract him, but because your detachment forces him to face himself. He starts replaying moments in his mind, wondering where it went wrong. And deep down, he knows. It's when he stopped valuing what he thought would always be there. Men crave emotional safety, but they fall for emotional challenge. The woman who gives both, the warmth that feels real and the distance that feels earned, is unforgettable. She doesn't chase, she chooses. She doesn't explain, she expresses. She doesn't beg to be seen, she lets silence do the talking. So when he reaches out, don't rush to fix what broke. Let him feel the consequence of his choices. Let him rebuild the bridge. Let him earn the access. Because that's when desire becomes respect, and respect is the foundation of real attraction. There's a quiet moment every man faces after losing a woman's emotional attention, a moment of clarity wrapped in discomfort. He'll scroll through old messages, rewatch your stories, and wonder why the energy feels different now. It's subtle but powerful. You're no longer performing for his validation, and that shift, your energy no longer orbiting him, cuts deeper than any argument ever could. See, men are often addicted to the version of you they met when you were giving, when you were nurturing, soft, open. But they rarely realize that version existed because you felt safe. When he broke that safety, through inconsistency, indifference, or ego, he didn't just lose your love, he lost access to your softness. And when that energy disappears, he starts chasing it again, not realizing it was his behavior that killed it. That's why this stage is so critical. You'll feel him trying to reconnect. He'll test the waters with, "Hey, how have you been?" Or, "Just thinking about you." But understand this. He's not asking for updates. He's checking your temperature. He wants to know if he still has emotional control. Don't give him that. Give him something more powerful, neutrality. Neutrality is emotional mastery. It's not revenge, it's revelation. You show him that your peace is no longer dependent on his attention, and that's when his mind starts spiraling. He'll begin comparing every woman he meets to you, the calm in your tone, the way you carried yourself, the softness he once took for granted. Every conversation after you becomes a mirror reflecting what he lost. And here's the twist. When you no longer need closure, he starts craving it. When you stop chasing answers, he starts searching for them. The very silence that once drove you crazy now drives him crazy, because your absence is no longer a wound. It's a statement. He'll try to re-enter your life, maybe through nostalgia, maybe through guilt. But you must remember this. He's not the same man you once loved, and you're not the same woman who once needed him. This isn't about getting him back. It's about showing yourself that you never needed to lose yourself to be loved. And now, here's the moment every man who once doubted you will face. The moment he realizes he didn't just lose your presence, he lost your essence, the energy, the attention, the emotional gravity that made him feel significant. He'll call, he'll text, maybe at midnight, maybe after a drink, maybe after seeing something that reminds him of you. But this time, when you see his name appear, something inside you feels different. You're not anxious, you're aware. That's the difference between a woman waiting and a woman awakened. You're no longer chasing the version of him you built in your imagination. You're seeing him for who he is, and more importantly, you're seeing yourself for who you've become. Stronger, wiser, calmer. A woman who doesn't beg for attention because she learned how to give herself validation. When you reach this level of emotional control, you no longer need to play games. You don't need to ignore him to make him chase. You simply exist in your truth. Your silence isn't manipulation, it's peace. Your distance isn't punishment, it's protection. You don't demand respect anymore because your energy commands it. And when he realizes that, when he feels that he no longer has access to the woman who once made him feel powerful, his ego will crumble. That's when he calls, that's when he texts, that's when he starts trying to rekindle what his own behavior destroyed. But by then, you'll know something he doesn't. Once you've learned your worth, no message can make you forget it. Let him reach out. Let him explain. But understand, closure doesn't come from his apology. It comes from your evolution. The moment you stop needing him to validate your value is the moment you become unforgettable. Because men don't chase beauty, they chase peace. And when a woman becomes her own source of peace, she becomes every man's deepest craving and greatest fear. So if you're waiting for him to call, don't chase the phone, chase your power. Because the second you rise above the need for him, he'll feel it. And that's when he'll come back, not to love you, but to find himself in the reflection of the woman who finally stopped waiting. Now tell me, if he texted you tonight, would you answer? Drop your answer in the comments below. And if this message spoke to your heart, don't forget to like this video, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs to hear this today.